Now, every Friday on the programme, we share with you what life is like for one listener, really digging down into the detail of it. Today, we're going to speak to Alan MacDonald, who is registered blind. Welcome to the programme, Alan.
Morning, Stephen.
Thanks for you're down from Oban for the day on this.
Yes, just arrived about half an hour ago.
It's good to have you with us this morning. Thanks very much indeed for your time. Now, were you born blind?
No, I've had eye problems all my life, but I was born visual normal, and had the first eye problem when I was 6, but then I lost my sight the first time when I was 14. I had cataracts, but that was a fairly easy fix for cataracts. But then, sadly, after that, between high school and uni at the age of 17, I had a detached retina in my right eye and lost the vision in that. And then until 24, everything was okay. I could drive, etc. But then the vision in my left eye went, and I was registered partially sighted at that age. And then multiple other problems, including glaucoma and corneal grafts. And then when I was 30, sadly registered blind, and I'm now 38, and I've had 19 eye operations in total.
Do you think it's harder, Alan, when you've had sight and that you know what you can't see now?
It can and it can't be. I've got a friend who's been blind from birth, and we've had this chat a few times, and if you said to me red pillar box, I can instantly picture what that is, whereas she struggles a bit more with that. Whereas there's things I've had to adjust to that she hasn't known any different. So there's ups and downs of that one, I think.
There's swings and roundabouts.
Yes.
Right, you live in Oban. Tell me about your life. What do you do?
At the moment, I am doing. I'm a tech squad coordinator for the RNIB, which basically means I am helping blind people, how to use iPhones, laptops, that kind of thing. And I do a similar thing with Visibility Scotland as well. And I do a small radio programme just as a volunteer.
Oh, hang on a second. Am I up against the professional here this morning? I'm going to come off worst for that, that's for sure.
Not at all, not at all.
So you're good at fixing tech things?
It's good with working with accessibility with tech things, showing people how to use the accessible thing. Like, for example, an old lady that came to us, and she watched her cooking programmes and bakery programmes, and she couldn't, at the end of these programmes, they would always say, go to this website for the recipes, and she couldn't go to the website because she couldn't see any more to do it. She could still cook, but couldn't see to get to the website. So I taught her how to use the voiceover screen reader, and she's now it was like giving her gold. She's absolutely delighted that she can go onto the website and read the recipes and do her baking now, that kind of thing. It's very fulfilling when something like that happens.
Something the rest of us just take for granted is this wide world of the internet and all the apps and things that are out there, but they have to be adaptable for you.
Yes and no. These days, there's certain phones, if you buy them, you don't have to send it away and get a special software put on. You just have to turn it on. The screen readers, for example, on an iPhone are actually built in. So you just turn it on, and that's one of the most vital things ever, because it means I can pick up any phone, and any phone of that type, and just use it.
Great. Right, you've been putting together an audio diary for us this week, Alan, of various aspects of your life that you thought the rest of us would be interested in. So we're going to start off in something we're all used to, which is in the supermarket. It's time to pay for your weekly shopping. Here we go.
I'm at the till at the supermarket, and I'm just about to pay. And the girl's about to... yes, please. Yeah, the bag would be good.
5p, yeah?
5p, yep, no problem. And I'm always very conscious of people standing behind me in this, when just sometimes just finding things is more difficult, and obviously putting it away in the bag. And... oh, I'm sorry. And counting money. In my wallet, I always make sure I've got my money in order of notes, so 20, 10, 5, don't have to worry about 50, so I don't have any of them. And you measure the money you've got between your fingers so you know which note you've got, which is always a good thing. But again, that's preparation for what you know before. And I've got my keys. Yep, there's a club card on my keys. But one of the most difficult things is paying with a card when you've got to find the machine.
Would you like a hand for that?
If you can show me where it is, yeah.
So there's a machine here.
And putting it in.
Yeah.
Sometimes putting it in is the most difficult bit, finding the machine.
And there's some buttons over here.
Once it's in, thank you very much, I've found the buttons. Sometimes finding the buttons, I'm always conscious of...
Wait a second, there's some problems with the card.
No problem. Extra problems with the card, we could do that. And
in, and just wait a second, I'll tell you when it's ready, and it's ready for your pen.
Ready for the pin. Doing the pin's dead easy. You find the number 5 with a dimple on it as a marker, and then and go. And the only problem is sometimes it's difficult to find the machine. Someone behind you is getting a little bit grumpy. You feel very conscious. And the one thing that presses my buttons is if somebody actually grabs my wrist and puts my hand to the machine, I find that really, really difficult. It's always easier if someone says left a bit, right a bit, or whatever. And I believe I've got that right, and that feels like a receipt coming in my hand now. That's good. Right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Alan, so many things that the rest of us simply would not think about in a simple visit to the supermarket. You're really relying on the staff being well trained and patient, aren't you?
The staff are brilliant in supermarkets, to be honest. They'll help you. They'll even come round with you and do your shopping with you if need be. And particularly at the till, they do realise what's going on. Sometimes, like I said in the clip there, it's the customer behind that doesn't quite fully appreciate it. 9 out of 10 times they will, but on occasions you will get somebody who doesn't get it.
Do you pick up on that in terms of the tutting? Is that what you're picking up on in that kind of tension? Yeah,
you just get that kind of sixth sense of something's happening behind you, and you're trying to hurry up. By trying to hurry up, you end up going slower because you're searching for your shopping on the counter to put it in your bags, and obviously if you've missed one item, you're just feeling about for it, and it's just a slower process for a visually impaired person.
Right, here's a really basic and probably stupid question, not for the first time from me. When you're going round the aisles in the supermarket, how do you know where the stuff is that you want to buy?
That's where it's really tricky. That's one thing that I would struggle to do on my own. I've got an app on my phone that can read either barcodes or the actual labels, but it would take forever going around the supermarket doing like that. So in general, you need somebody with you, whether it's a member of staff or a family member. In general, you need somebody with you.
Is there something more supermarkets could do with that, in terms of braille on the end of aisles or something like that could help?
That would be an interesting one, yeah. I mean, you'd have to go along and feel every counter, of course, but I think supermarkets are doing quite a bit. They're implementing new systems for even if you just walk in the store, that your phone can trigger somebody to one of the customer service staff to alert them that you've walked in, a visually impaired person, for example, has walked in. So that kind of thing can be very helpful because it means you don't have to go and find somebody.
I'm loving your audio diary today. I've learned loads already. Let's have a listen to the next instalment.
Okay, I'm currently in the middle of George Street, the main street in Oban, and I'm at the bank machine. And there's a good job I'm with somebody because there's a note on the machine saying no £10 notes available, which is what I was about to take out, so I'll need to take 20. So for a start, I can't read that, which is not much use. And just put my card in now. I always feel the screen first to get my bearings. Now, the numbers aren't too bad because there's a divot on the number 5 as always, so I'm going to put my number in. And I've memorised the RBS machine and the Bank of Scotland machine, so I know which button's which. So I know the second one down on the left is cash only, and I always hit other amount because sadly the layout of all the bank machines is not the same. Sometimes the £200 button is in the top left, and sometimes it's a £10 button. It would be great if the banks could actually put them in order so they're all exactly the same. So I've typed in the amount I want. I always feel really conscious at this point because you just feel vulnerable. I think anybody would at the bank machine, but even more so for a visually impaired person. So I've just pulled my card out, and I'm now trying to find, and even just that 2 seconds, but it took me a second to find where the money is. You just feel very, very vulnerable doing it. So I've put that away in my pocket now, and hopefully that should be it.
So many simple things in there. So the dimple on the 5,
yes.
Is that a common thing to help blind people?
Yes, that's on. If you look at any keyboard or like the cash point, the till I was talking about a second ago, that'll be on any one of them. Same with your normal QWERTY keyboard, you'll get it on is it the J and the L button as well?
Never noticed that before. Yep. Now we know.
Sorry, F and J. Sorry.
You do feel vulnerable. We all feel vulnerable at cash machines these days. There's little notes on saying, be careful when you're taking money out and things. Don't let anybody see your PIN. For you, that's even more of an issue.
It is, and when I recorded that clip, I actually had somebody with me, and by pure chance, she told me that I was only going to take £10 out, but the machine was saying only 20 is available. So if I was there on my own, I would have noticed that, and I would have been stuck. I would have to hit the cancel button and just go back and try again. I would have thought I've done something wrong. So the layout of these machines is trickier, and as I said in the clip, one thing I just wish the banks could maybe do is make the layout of the machines exactly the same, because the screen's always the same. There's always the 4 buttons down the left, 4 buttons down the right. But the actual layout on the screen is different depending on what bank you go to. If they could have a standard layout, it wouldn't matter for someone who could see, but for someone in my position, it would be absolute gold.
You were telling us in the supermarket how you rely on checkout staff to be helpful there. Yes. I guess for you, a concern is you're at a cash point and someone may, with the best of intentions, come up to you and try and offer to help. Can they do something to help you there? But you're concerned you're getting your money out.
Well, that's exactly it. When I'm paying in the till in Tesco, I'm not keen when the checkout staff put their hand on my wrist and put my hand to the machine. I find that really difficult. I don't know if it's, again, a vulnerability because I've got the card in my hand or whether it's just my private space. I don't know. But at the bank machine, that is times 10. And I do think there was a friend of mine was telling a story recently, actually, she's visually impaired as well, and she had exactly that experience. A friend she knew wasn't coming to help her at the bank machine, but came up and slapped her on the back and said, "Hey, how are you doing?" And she jumped out her skin, and she hasn't used a bank machine for a while since, and understandably so.
What about online banking? How do you do that?
Online banking, again, is the phone with the screen reader. The screen reader is absolute gold for these kind of things. As you touch the screen on your phone or as you type in the keyboard on your laptop, the screen reader reads out what's on the screen, and it's actually been made quite accessible, which is good.
Okay, right, back to everyday life. We'll get away from the tech here and get back to kind of the old challenges of everyday life for a blind person. Crossing the road has its problems too.
I'm currently standing at a crossing in the main street in Oban, and I'm trying to find the button for pressing to cross the road. Now, I know the dimples are underneath my feet, which means I'm in the right area. On this side of the road, the post with the button on it is actually behind me. It's not actually at the edge of the curbs. I've got somebody with me here on this occasion. Oh, right on cue. That was good timing. And so that makes it slightly easier to find because there's somebody with me. But if I was on my own or somebody with a guide dog, pressing these buttons is actually incredibly difficult. Now, I'm on the other side now, and like I say, the post on this side of the street, only because I know this road, the post on this side of the street is actually at the edge of the curb. It's not. Okay, apparently it's not. I thought it was. I don't know it as well as I thought I did. So apparently there's a company that is making a system if you've got a mobile phone and you can walk up and the phone via Bluetooth or whatever it is can press the button for you so that you don't actually have to physically feel around and find for the post stroke the button. It's on trial just now, and I think it's down in Largs, but you need to put a wee chip inside the actual the box itself. So whether that comes to fruition or not, I'm not quite certain. It would be good, but again, that would only help the iPhone generation and not everybody. And the other thing that's a slight issue as well is how you feel when you're doing this. If you put one foot wrong looking for the post, obviously you're on the road. It's a very busy road. There's lots of traffic coming across here. It's actually quite a windy day as well, so sometimes hearing even cyclists can be difficult as well. And that post is not as close to the edge of the road as I initially thought it was.
On our busy roads, it's hard enough for the rest of us crossing. Is that one of the things you really dread on a day-to-day basis, Alan?
It can be, yes, and depending where you are. And like I said, that was a crossing I thought I knew well. And as it was pointed out, the post wasn't as close to the road as I thought it was. So if I was looking for that myself, I might actually be closer to the road than I needed to be. And that presents its own dangers, of course.
How do you feel when people come up and offer to help you get across the road? Do you welcome that?
I do personally, but I think everybody's got their own personal preferences in these situations. I don't mind that kind of thing at all.
And tell me, you've never had a guide dog?
You couldn't make this up. I'm as a blind person, I'm actually allergic to dogs.
Oh no!
Yes, seriously.
So it's just not an option for you? It's
not an option for me, sadly.
But you would have done without that, yeah?
Probably, yes.
So we've got one final bit of audio to hear from you today. And again, this is all about people's everyday lives, and it's the very ordinary thing here of washing your clothes, doing your washing.
Currently in my kitchen, in front of my washing machine, about to do my washing, and sorting things out isn't as easy as you might think. I've done a bit of prep in that I've cut the labels on some of my items that are white into a triangle, so I can tell what's white and what's dark for sorting it out. So just doing a pair of boxer shorts first, that's dead easy, because I know they're all the same colour, because I cheated slightly there. T-shirts take slightly longer. You've got to stop, find the label, and get a hold of it. And sure enough, it's inside out. That gets a bit frustrating. Nope, that's a white one, so that's not going in. Socks. Now, I've cheated slightly with socks. I know visually impaired people who have bought these wee clips you put together to keep them together in your wash basket. I've cheated slightly in that I have dumped all my socks and bought all the pairs exactly the same, so I know exactly which ones I'm getting when I go for the wash. So that's a wee shortcut there. And again, the label, just trying to find it and go. I think the bit that feels frustrating the most is this should be a 2-minute job, but it can take a lot longer simply because you've got to stop, and a non-visually impaired person would just glance at it and see exactly what they're looking for straight away, whereas I have to stop and feel every item. And that's a dark t-shirt. There are phone apps that can tell you the difference between the colours of certain clothes items, but they're not always consistently correct, partly due to the lighting in the room and how good your camera is on your phone, of course. And the actual washing machine itself, now that's something else that sounds daft, you have to do a little bit of looking into, because the dial on it has to be, you have to be able to feel it. A lot of washing machines these days have got very flat buttons, even a touchscreen thing, which for visually impaired people basically rules us completely out. So I've got a round dial here on my washing machine, so I've learnt how many clicks mine's got. So it's currently sitting at the 12 o'clock position, so I've got to count 5, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I feel the on button. So I'm going to hit on now, and hopefully, fingers crossed, that should be it.
I've got to say, you must be very good at this, Alan, because you're wearing a pristine white polo shirt here today that has no shade of tie-dye pink or blue through it. Has it ever gone wrong?
Not yet, but there's always scope for that happening.
Yeah. So there's so many domestic things, again, round the house. These things, the rest of us, the ironing, just things that we don't think about. They're just second nature for us, that you have to have a plan for, prepared for.
Yeah, preparation is the key. Like I said in the clip there, the white items, I've cut the labels into triangles, so it's dead easy to feel, that kind of thing. And, you know, even buying the washing machine, there was preparation in that too. So it's if you can prepare and be ready for situations that arise, that's always much easier. Like I said with the banknotes earlier on, when I was paying in the supermarket as well, I should have said, I got somebody to sit next to me and show me, and I measured the banknotes. If you put them between your fingers, I've worked out that a £10 note is the exact height of my middle finger. So obviously a £5 note slightly shorter, £20 note slightly taller. And but you need somebody with eyes to help you that the first time. So if there's somebody out, that's a good tip for someone who maybe is visually impaired or knows somebody that's visually impaired. They can teach them that, but you need somebody to help you out with that the first time. But then once you've learned it once and what height a note is in your finger, then you just take it from there.
If there was one thing that would make life easier for you in terms of a gadget or some change to the way that the rest of us organise life for you, what would it be?
Oh, that's a big one. There's a few. There's talk of the glasses with the cameras on them that just look at things and you put a wee earpiece in, it tells you what it is. That would be fantastic. But I think for me personally, I'd love a talking car. And just, you know, you can speak into your watch, it would come and get you.
What was that Knight Rider?
Knight Rider, that's exactly what I was thinking.
A real Knight Rider car.
Yes, exactly. That would be great.
That would kind of transform things. Alan, it's been an absolute pleasure meeting you today and hearing your story as well. And I think you're a radio natural, by the way.
I do my best.
I need to watch out for my job here, I think. Alan McDonald, thanks for coming down and seeing us from Melbourne. Safe journey back today, Alan.
Thanks, Stephen.